If you did throw it out my favorite student, you just remember, I'm the one who knocks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, as we continue our journey through adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, we're going to talk about what we have to do. The first thing we have to do is we have to have a common denominator. Denominator. You cannot, and I repeat, cannot add and subtract fractions unless they have a common denominator. So let's look at this problem here. 1/6 plus 3/4. And I look at these and I say to myself, self, these do not have the same denominator, so I cannot add them the way they're written. So I have to find the common denominator. And I'll put the steps for finding the common denominator over here so that you can see. If you're stuck and have to do some at home, you can go back and watch this video. But let's look at common denominator. M-I-N-A-T-O-R. I take my two denominators. I take it 6 and 4. So I have 6 and I have 4. And I'm going to list the multiples. The multiples. Like I'm counting by that number. Now you have a multiplication chart most of the time. And if you don't, you can use your hands and toes to count. I know that. And we're supposed to find the first one that appears in both lists. Why the first one? Well, because the bigger the number you pick, the more you're going to have to simplify. So if we have 6, 12, 18, 4, 8, 12, my common denominator is 12. So now you're stuck, you're at home, you look at this, and now you can jot your memory how to find a common denominator. Since 12 is our common denominator, we have to make these fractions have a denominator of 12. So we need to make equivalent fractions. While I was gone, when I was suspended, I'm not allowed to talk about the student that I hit. But while I was suspended, you guys were given an assignment where you had to find the missing part of a fraction when doing equivalent fractions. Now, some of you didn't do that assignment, because they turned it into me. But we don't want to change the value. So we have to figure out, what are we multiplying by 6 to get 12? Well, I can always go back and look here, and that saves me some having to do some more work. And 6 times what equals 12? 2. If I multiply my denominator by 2, I must also multiply my numerator by 2. And 1 times 2 is? 2. You will find out if you use fraction pieces that 1/6 and 2/12 have the exact same value. Now I've got to do the same thing for 3/4. The same thing for 3/4. My common denominator is 12, which means I have to multiply both my numerator and denominator by the same thing. So what do I multiply by 4 to get 12?
3.
I can look over here. 1, 2, 3. Makes it easy. I've already done that part of the math. And my numerator then will be 9. I know my answer is going to have 12 here. My next step is to add or subtract. Now, we had an assignment yesterday that most of you did that had both adding and subtracting on it. And some of you missed the problems because you did the wrong operation. Always go back and look at the sign. Signs everywhere, the signs. I don't know, it's a song by Tesla. Here's a song by somebody else before that, but you know.
Tesla.
All right, so it's an addition problem. We have 2 12ths plus 9 12ths is what?
11 12.
11 12ths. And our fourth step, which means we have to simplify if possible. So we have no improper fractions. No improper fractions. Now, just a hint, if your numerator is one less than your denominator, it can't be simplified. But let's look at it and see how we would simplify. First of all, we have to ask ourselves, is this an improper fraction? No, so I don't have to change it to a whole number or mixed number. Don't have to do that. But I need to find the greatest common factor of 11 and 12. And I want to see if they have anything other than 1 in common. So we always start with 1 in itself. Anything else multiply together to equal 11? Any other whole numbers?
No.
No. Because it's what kind of number? Prime number. We always start with 1 and 12. Jaden, what else?
1 and 12 and 2 and 6.
And DJ?
3 and 4.
3 and 4. Now we find what they have in common. They both have a 1 in common. Do they have anything else in common?
No.
If they have nothing else in common, then that means that fraction is already in lowest terms. That fraction is already in lowest terms. That's a whole bunch of work to add and subtract fractions. Are those my present for my birthday? Because I really would like those.
No, they're $100.
Those. This is a lot of work. But none of it is difficult work. I mean, we're listing multiples. We're multiplying normally by one-digit numbers in this grade. I mean, we're finding common denominators and greatest. None of it is difficult. It takes a whole bunch of work. But if you're willing to do the work, you're going to get it right. If you're not willing to do the work and you're being lazy, you're probably going to get it wrong. Which makes me sad. Because as much as I love every single one of you, I do not want to have you sitting in my class again next year. Because if you think I pick on you this year, if you come back, I'll tell you what. 9/10, subtract 1/4. We look at the problem. It does not have common denominators. So I need to find my common denominator. I take my denominators for 4 and 10, and I start listing the multiples. And I've done so many of these problems over the 56 years I've been teaching, so I knew it was 20. That's why I kind of looked there, stopped there. My common denominator is 20. Now I need to change so that we have equivalent fractions with the same denominator. And these are going to be 20. I know my denominator here is going to be 20. All right, then I have to figure out, what do I multiply by 10 to get 20? 2. If I multiply my denominator by 2, I must also multiply my numerator by 2, and I get 18. What did I multiply by 4 to get 20? 5. If I multiply my denominator by 5, I must also multiply my numerator by 5, and I get 5. Go back and check your sign. This is a subtraction problem. This is a subtraction problem. Maddie, you, 18 subtract 5 is? 13. So I have 13 twentieths. I want to see if it can be simplified. So I look for the greatest common factor. I always start with 1 in the number. 1 and 20. Any other factors for 13? No. So it's what kind of number? Prime. 20. Jaden, give them to me.
2 times 10.
Okay.
And then 5 times 4.
Good. Okay. That's it. Good. That's it. The only thing they have in common is 1. That means that is my respuesta correcta. Correct answer. A lot of work. A lot of easy work. If you're willing to do the work, you're going to get them done correctly. if you're, I don't want to say lazy, that'd be rude. If you're lazy and you don't want to do the work, you're probably going to miss them. So be willing to do the work. That's why yesterday in the assignment, I made you take a piece of paper and do all the work for every problem on there. And those that showed every bit of work got good grades. Those that didn't, because they were lazy, didn't get good grades. Say my name.